If you guys want coins for FC24, make sure you check out MMOEXP.com. Their link is down in the description. They're very fast, they're very cheap, they're very reliable, and if you use my code REMA, you can get yourself a lovely 5% discount. So what's up guys, it's Ash here and welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. In today's video guys, we have my updated 4-3-2-1 custom tactics and player instructions for those of you that are still playing FC24. I hope they help you out guys. Please be sure to drop the video a thumbs up as it does really help me out on the YouTube search algorithm. Also sub to the channel if you are new so you never miss out on any videos. And yeah, don't forget to turn those notifications on so you never miss an upload. And yeah, with all that aside guys, I hope you enjoy the video. Let's get right into it. Alrighty then guys, so starting off with the custom tactics, pretty standard to be honest with you, pretty much same old, but I'll go through them anyway. For the defensive style, I pop it on balance. Now, I like balance because I feel like it gives me the best control over my defense. When I want to press, I can. When I want to drop off and maybe be that bit more passive, I can also do that. So balance works out for me. You guys don't have to use it, however, if you don't want to. Moving on to the defensive width, I suggest anywhere between 40 and 50. As it makes your defense like nice, narrow and compact, so you can block out all of those attacks through the middle, which is very important because that's where the goal is and that's where the danger is. But at the same time, you don't want to lower this width too much because it's still important to maintain that width in the defense so you can cover the wider areas in case an opponent goes down the wing. So you want to be narrow in your defense but not too narrow. Now for the depth guys, you can pretty much use whatever you want or whatever you're comfortable with really. Some people might prefer to use something like 71 depth where you get that automatic pressure from the AI. Very overpowered. People love using it. Me personally, I don't like it because I don't feel like I'm in control, if that makes sense. So I don't like this, but if you want to use it, go right ahead. I prefer something like 60 or 65 depending on the day, where we still have a bit of a higher defensive line, but we have a bit more control over when we press. So yeah, if this is still too high for you, however, you can lower it even more. So it's just completely down to preference, guys. Moving on to the build-up play, guys, one thing I will say is regardless of your play style, I think balanced is the way to go. Now, the reason I think balanced is the way to go is because I definitely think it is the most controlled and the most varied way to build up. You might look at these settings and think, yeah, that suits me perfectly. Maybe you like to play slowly and you see slow build-up and you think, yeah, that's all right. In my opinion, guys, slow build-up and these other settings like fast build-up, they're just terrible. You know, they don't work to the way that they say they do. When you use slow build-up, it just means your AI barely moves at all. So yeah, that's useless. Fast build-up, they just move all over the place, but not in a good way. It's just really random and uncontrolled. So yeah, I think balance is just the best. I think you get the best AI movements, but yeah, I could be wrong. Yeah, moving on to chance creation, guys, I highly recommend direct passing, as it is by far the most meta way to create chances in this game. When you use direct passing, guys, your attacking players will commit runs. You know, they'll try and make these runs. Defenders will then try to follow the attacker that is making the run. Once that defender has overcommitted to the run that the attacker has made, your attacker will then do like the track back movement. So they've created a lot of space between the defender that has tried to track the run and themselves. So then you can cut back to them and score from there. So it's very overpowered, even if it is a little bit boring, which is why I do suggest it, guys. For the attacking width, I recommend anything from like 45 to 50. I think this is a good range. You can pretty much use whatever you want, but the reason I use something like 48 is because I don't like my attack being too wide, otherwise it feels more like a 4-3-3. So if you want to up the width because that's something you like, go right ahead, but 48 works for me at the moment. Moving on to the players in the box, you can pretty much do whatever you want, but I like 6 because I find it to be a really good middle ground where you do get a few players into that penalty area to create those chances, but when you lose out on possession, you haven't overcommitted to the point where if you lose out, you're not always going to get counter attack. So yeah, just use what you want, but I use 6. For the corners and free kicks, again, does not really matter, guys. You can pretty much use whatever you want. I just use 1 because I feel like when I use this, I don't get counter-attacked as often because we don't have as many players in the box. But yeah, the other tactics, let's move on to the player instructions. Moving on to the player instructions, guys, on the striker, we have them on stay central and get in behind. Now, we have them on stay central because we don't really want them drifting out into that wider area. They are our strikers, so it is important that they do maintain that central position primarily, and we already have like the forwards to cover those slightly wider areas, so stay central is the way to go. I also think getting behind is very important, especially when you're playing against people using pressure tactics, because it's the only way to force movements out of the player. If you're coming up against somebody that uses pressure and you have them on mixed attack, the player just won't move. You know, they'll lose possession every time, they won't make any decent runs, and you're pretty much screwed. So at least getting behind means these players will try and break that press, if that makes sense. Now for the left forward, guys, I have them on stay central and getting behind. Stay central to keep them in those more narrow lanes. You don't really want them drifting out too wide because they're not too useful. We can also use fullbacks for width, which we'll get onto. So just keep this player on stay central so it keeps them in that more narrow lane, which is more useful to you. And then get in behind as well, so that they will obviously try to make those runs. So that's what I like on the left forward. For the right forward though, guys, we do pop them on comeback on defense and get in behind. Now the reason we pop them on comeback on defense is because it will make it defend in a 4-4-2 shape, guys. Now, some people don't understand why people do this, but the reason you do it is because when you pop this player on comeback and defense, it will make them defend as a right midfielder in the 4-4-2 shape. Now, why is the 4-4-2 shape so much better? Well, it's just because you can defend both the narrow areas very well with those two centre mids, and also the wider areas very well with this new right mid in Foden in my case, and also Rolfo as the left mid. So you just have better coverage when you're defending, makes you more compact, and that is why everybody uses it. So this player on comeback defends as a right mid, and we also use getting behind so that they will obviously make runs when they go forward. Now for this right centre mid, guys, this is like a more box to box style player, so we kind of just let them do what they want and leave them on those default settings. We don't really want to restrict them all that much, so we just let them do what they want. And then the only important thing is popping them on cover centre so that they will defend as that right centre mid in the 4-4-2 shape. Now for this middle centre mid, guys, we pop them on stay back while attacking and cover centre. This is because they're the more defensive minded midfielder, which means we don't want them flying forward. We need them to be back, we need them to be that anchor, and we need them to bring that balance to the midfield. We also pop them on cover centre, so like the right centre mid, they will defend as one of the two centre mids in that 4-4-2 shape, guys. Now for this left centre mid, you can pretty much use an attacker here, because on the cover wing instruction, it will make them defend as that left mid in the 4-4-2 shape. So because they're not having to defend as one of the centre mids, you don't necessarily have to have a player with crazy defensive ability. Obviously, it's a bonus if you can get somebody like Rolfo, who is crazy in both the attack and the defence. But you can basically just use these as an extra attacker with the get forward and get into the box across instructions, which makes this formation all the more deadly on the attack. Just make sure you do have this player on cover wing so that you don't mess up that 4-4-2 shape. Just to reiterate, guys, when we're defending, Rolfo is my left mid, Declan Rice is my left centre mid, Hullett is my right centre mid, and then Foden is my right mid, with Kerr and James being the two strikers. Now, moving on to the fullbacks, guys. Whichever one is your most attacking-minded fullback, doesn't matter which one, can be a left back, can be a right back, don't worry. In my case, it's Cafu, so I pop him on balanced attack and overlap. Now, the reason we do this is because if you look at the 4-3-2-1 as a formation and the way we've got it set up, it is quite narrow. You know, you don't really have a lot of width to it a lot of the time, so it's very important to have this fullback going forward on that overlap run type to give you that extra width, to give you that wider option, and to stretch out your opponent's defense, which just makes it easier to attack all round. So this is very underrated, and a lot of people still don't use this, and I cannot recommend it enough. For the other fullback, guys, the more defensive of the two, pop them on stay back and overlap. The reason we do this is so we always have at least 3 defenders back at a time, but when you send them on the run forward, they'll make that overlapping run just like the right back or, you know, your attacking fullback. For the 2 centre-backs, guys, we leave them alone, of course, and the keeper, we also leave them alone, but you can pop them on comes for crosses and sweeper keeper if you would like. But yeah, guys, they're my tactics and instructions for the 4-3-2-1. If you guys have found this useful, please be sure to drop it a thumbs up. It does really help me out. Also, sub to the channel if you are new, so you never miss out on any videos, and don't forget to turn on those notifications, guys. And with all that aside, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace out, guys. Take care.